Hi, Daniel.
Hi,
Hi, how are you?
good. How are you?
Good, good, good. Nice to see you today. We are looking forward to talk to you today and see some of your birds.
Good.
So I closed the comment. So
Yes.
because the comment, there are maybe some question and comment and that. So I will, I do it by the other way, which is on the question mark here.
Well, I'm glad if I don't have to read it. I have
Yeah,
the questions here that I want to answer, and
yeah.
everything else, if there's something important or connected with the question I'm talking about, you let me know, and then I try to answer.
Yes, yes, yes. First of all, it's really honor for me to have you in this live today and this interview, and it's a pleasure to have the famous breeder Daniel Luetolf, which is we call the feather engineer actually, who's doing much in the hobby and very known over the world and very known also for us here, and also. A very old friend might be for me. I've visited you in all the old house and all that. So
When,
it's a
when,
pleasure.
which year was this? Do you remember?
I think 2015.
Ah,
I
not that
think.
long ago. Okay.
Yeah, Daniel. Today is your name well known. Everyone knows you. Everyone looking forward to know more about Daniel Luetolf, especially in our Arab world and especially on the Instagram fancier. So as you know, as we know, we all seen your bedroom in many previous videos. So can you ask us how many breeding cages have you got?
Breeding boxes, they are totally 96, and I'm
Yeah,
using normally around 90.
90.
Now all the boxes are full. We were in Corsica with the whole family from April till August, but I
Yeah,
already started to breed with some couples, some birds to try, some old ones, and some experimental stuff.
yeah,
But now, since early August, I'm breeding with all the cages. Plus, there
yeah,
are two upstairs flights with
yeah,
baby birds and more sales birds, and
yeah.
downstairs there's the big adult flight, adult and youngster flight. You will
Yeah.
see them afterwards.
Yeah. Daniel, you are breeding a large number. In your opinion, is it important to just have this big number?
If you want to take influence, I think numbers is necessary. Reinhard Molketin told me this in the year 2000 that
Yeah,
you only can have influence by breeding numbers. And I was thinking about, and I thought, well, he is right. And at that moment, I also started to breed more and to get more birds and more cages. And yeah, it also means more work.
yeah,
And I also stopped, not stopped, but I started to reduce my time as a teacher.
yeah,
Until then, I was working 100%.
yeah,
And in, I think 2001, 2002, I went down to 75, then to 70, 60, yeah, around 60% teaching. That means 3 days I was at school and 2 days at home plus the weekend.
okay. Yes. About the our question, which is written here about the diet system. Many option on the diet system, Daniel, as you know. So people having their way of diet. So what about, we'd like to talk shortly about this. So is Daniel Luetolf offering the soft food every day or just 3 days, 4 days a week as a soft food?
It's a matter of time, and I don't think it's necessary to feed them every day. I produce twice or three times a week soft food, and that's
Yeah,
for 2 days then. So they get fresh egg food the first day. The second day they get another one, but much less. And then the
yeah,
third day and fourth day they don't get anything or
yeah.
only salted groats. What they get all the time is seed with red millet. That's 80-90% of the food.
So do you believe in the red millets? It's very important for them.
My birds are loving it, and they eat, I don't know, 60, 70 cartons with 25 kilo per year. The babies are loving it. They are eating it already in the nest boxes. They are eating it in the flights. Everybody is loving it. Yeah, I think it's very important. And I'm happy to have a friend in France, Guillaume Froger, who produced them without any pesticide, without glyphosate and stuff like this. So you can feed them with a good conscience.
Yeah. So would like to ask you about the number of the babies every year, or how many you produce every year. The average of the number of the youngest.
700-800 youngsters a year.
Yeah. So 800. So this is the average. The 800.
About,
and how many you keep for the next season normally?
Around, I have, let's say, 90 breeding boxes. That means I want to have about 110 breeding cocks and around about 150 hens. And I think the hens are always more delicate. I think about selling hens after 1 year, because I realized very often they breed very good in the first year. The second year they don't breed well, and in the third year they breed again. Don't ask me why, but I have friends that breed only with young hens and sell them after 1 season, but there's no rule. I also have hens that don't breed in the first year, and then the second and third and fourth year they breed perfectly. You never know. I have now a lacewing hen that was breeding in the first year. Now she's 5 years old and she has 3 chicks. So strange animals.
Yeah. Daniel, what about for so you are a champion breeder, and everyone know you, and we've seen you on the shows, on Kalsua and some other shows. So how many shows do you do every year?
Oh, this year I didn't do any show. Oh no, there was one show from the Swiss club I did. Normally I make 2 shows in Switzerland from the Ceva. There are 2 clubs in Switzerland. And sometimes I go to Munich. There's an international show from Herbert Rafalczyk and the Bavaria club. But that year and last year it didn't happen, also because of the COVID situation. Same, the Harpert might gonna happen in Holland, but Doncaster is cancelled and Karlsruhe is cancelled too. So, but for me the most important show is, of course, Karlsruhe. That's the challenge, because everybody is going there. Most big breeders from Europe are coming, and that's the mecca of the showbochy scene in Europe, maybe even in the world.
Daniel, if we talk about, because we are talking about the show, how many birds in Daniel's show team normally?
Oh, not too many, around 20.
Only 20?
24, not too. I was showing much more when I was younger. But I'm getting older and
you're still young. You're still young.
In 8 years, I'm 60. I'm getting older. No, but 20. If you have 20 good birds, that's enough.
And Daniel, you choose a single bird of each mutation, or you take might be 2 or 3.
Well, the day before the show, I start looking around what's in top condition, what have the flight and wings ready. And well, some birds, I know that some birds are in my mind since they are babies, that when they are old enough, I want to show them for sure. And other birds, I just think, well, maybe that one, a bird that I want to sell, then you put him in the show cage, and then you see, wow, it looks like a super bird. Sometimes it's quite surprisingly how birds have a different, how do you say, a different, I don't know the English word. Ausstrahlung is the German word, a different yeah, you think it's a good bird, but not a super bird. And then you put it into a show cage, and then you
Yeah.
realize, wow, it's a super bird. That's
Yeah.
like a mannequin, a model, a
Yeah.
beautiful lady. Sometimes when you see them in real life, you think, well, that's nothing special, and then you then have a mannequin and things like this,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
they look very beautiful, and you don't know why, but when you see them walking um, on the show, then they have a different attraction.
Yeah, and sometimes become the opposite, Daniel. So a bird you thought,
Well, exactly. And then
yeah,
you bring him to the show and you're very disappointed and you do
yes,
not realize that he doesn't look so good as you think.
yeah.
You have to make translation for your Arab friends.
So even with Daniel Luetolf, some birds are disappointed him. So it's
Yeah,
not only the other breeders.
no, that's normal.
Yeah, yeah,
And you see the birds how they look at home, and
yeah,
maybe in the showcase cage they look different. And
yeah,
what I wanted to say that in England, certain breeders are going with their birds to 10, 12, 15 shows. That's for me absolutely not understandable because
yeah,
it's a big stress. My European show winner, for example, the cinnamon grey green, that was
yeah,
winning the European show and the WBO show.
yeah,
I showed him 3 times in my life, and 3 times he was winning on big shows.
yeah,
And I mean, I made probably 10 other shows in those 3 years, but I could have shown him every time, and I know he would have won every time because he was a
yeah,
perfect. He was not a super duper bird, but he was a perfect showman, and the whole year he was in condition. But
yeah,
such a show, 2 days, 1 day, 3 days, is always a big stress for the bird. And
yeah,
for me, the most important is the breeding. And if you bring birds 10 times, 15 times to shows each weekend in England, then they
yeah,
call it all champion bird because he was winning 10 times or things like this.
yes,
That's for me very funny, very,
yeah,
let's say
yeah,
funny, not stupid, but I would never do that because it's a stress for the bird. And anyway, each show is a stress for the bird. Now, as well, a big risk. You never know whether you bring any disease back home. So
yes.
that's also a reason why I try to make just a few shows, and yeah, that's enough.
So you focus on some shows, not a large number of shows.
No, no, just a few.
So you are picky with shows. That's what we mean.
Say again?
You are picky with shows.
Yeah, I
So
mean, there are only a few shows that are really interesting. I mean, there's Karlsruhe and Doncaster is nice to look at, but too far away to
yeah,
participate. And Harpert, that's also a good show in Holland with
yeah,
breeders from Germany, Belgium, and yeah,
yeah,
Luxembourg, and around
yes,
Holland.
yes. Okay.
I love your Arabic language. I love to listen to it, but I don't understand anything at all.
Yes,
I
yes,
have no idea what you were
yes.
translating. The only
Translating
I
direct
only understood grey green. I understood
Grey
you
Green.
said
Yeah,
grey green, not
yeah,
anything else. And people are saying that Swiss German, my mother language, seems to be similar to Arabic language, but I really cannot understand. It's
yes.
you have I like to listen. Very beautiful language. Okay, go on.
Okay. So, Daniel, that's pulled me to another question. When you talk about the Grey Greens, so the Grey Greens is, as you mentioned, is not a super bird but a show bird. So there is a super bird which is not showing himself.
Sorry, I didn't understand.
Yeah. So when we talk about the Grey Green, the champion, your Grey Green cock,
Yeah.
which is one, you said he's not a super as much as a show bird.
He was a super showman, and I think he could have won any show in the world for sure. But
Yeah.
when you saw him in the flight,
Yeah.
he wasn't outstanding. And I
Yeah.
remember I offered the bird as a barhead for yeah, not a high price to anybody, but he didn't want it. Him
Yeah.
and there in the box I thought the first time, well, he has a nice show behavior. He wasn't a super bird. His father was a super bird. His mother was a little cinnamon opaline grey green hen. And Then some weeks later, I put him again in the show cage, and every time I put him in the show cage, he was becoming better and better. But when you saw him in the flight, you would never think that's an outstanding bird. He was a good bird, but he looked like 100 other ones. But in the show cage, he looked special.
Yes, but what I meant by other meaning is there is some good birds or super bird you thought, and they are not so behavior or good behavior in the show bench.
Yeah, that's normal. That happens all the time.
And they still a super bird.
Well, when I don't make any kind of show training. The behavior, whether they stay relaxed or not, is in the family, is in the genes. So and if I put the bird in the show cage and he jumps around in his stress, then maybe I try it again some weeks later. But if he's still not relaxed, he will never go to a show. That's possible, mainly with hens. I only use birds that when I put them in, that they immediately go up to the perch and present themselves. Otherwise, it's a stress for the bird, and only a good showman can win a show. When he's stressed, there's no chance.
So you don't train your birds, Daniel? There is no
really, no.
Or something?
No, when people are here or when people are coming to take pictures, then I take them out and show them. If people say, can I watch this bird? I'd say, yeah, you can watch it. And then they want to buy. I said, no, you cannot buy that, but you can buy the brother, and then you put the brother and put them together, things like this. But I don't make big show preparation. No, not really.
Yeah.
I start a day or 2 days before the show. For the show, we have today's first day, and this coming Saturday we have a show. But yeah, I have no idea yet which bird I want to take with, but I will do that tomorrow.
So there is one of the guys is asking a question actually, and because we're talking about the breeding, so I don't want to carry on other things. He said you have 96 cages and you're breeding around 800, so like eight chicks.
Low battery. Please charge.
Eight chicks for each pairs in the average. So normally, how many rounds you took from each pairs?
Well, normally if a pair is breeding perfectly, I make 2 full rounds and then let the hen lay a 3rd round and take the eggs away, and then I change the hen, and the cock, if he's still in condition, stays a few days for his own. And then when a pair has clear eggs, I kick them out, and if they stay together in the flight, I will probably try them later again, 2 months later or 4 months later. Break. And cocks, they can stay 5, 6, 7 months, and then they go out to the big flight and recover 4 or 5 months, and then I use them again, or I sell them.
Yeah. Okay. So
because breeding season is 7, 8 months, 6, 7, 8 months is breeding season, and 4 or 5 months is break, where they are all in the flights.
Yeah. So because we lose some part of your talk is, do you use the cocks again and you remove the hens, or you carry on, or you remove them, 2 of them, the cock and the hen, after the 3rd round?
Well, certain cocks are always in condition, and then I let them breed. Other cocks, they are tired after 1 or 2 rounds, then they go back to the flight. It's very important only to breed with birds in top condition. If you use them and they're not in top condition, either you get clear eggs, or the quality of the youngster is not as good as it would be if the bird would be in top condition. So that's very, very important feature, that the bird is in top condition, female and cock.
Yes. And there is some females, Daniel, is on the 3rd round also in the top condition. Do you carry on or stop her?
I would say there are 2, 3 very, very rare females that make a fourth round. And I know there are females, I know that from guys in England, they make 6, 7, 8 rounds. In nature, a hen doesn't stop, or budgies stop breeding when the food is gone, when the water is gone, so they leave and go on. And here at our place, the food goes on all the time, so budgies are really made to produce numbers from the nature. But I think we have the responsibility to stop them, and I want hens that breed 3-4 seasons, not only one.
Okay, we're gonna talk about the feather problems and all these issues. So, do you think the as they said, or all the blaming from the feather problem from Europe?
I was just reading that question. I think, well, most birds that are going around are coming from Europe. So, of course, all the good things are coming from Europe, but also all the bad things are coming from Europe. And I think feather troubles, you must know, is it French molt? If a bird is suffering with French molt, you can go on breeding with them. They can reproduce perfect birds. And if it's genetic, then you shouldn't go on. It will come back and come back. And I use birds with no tail or wings missing, but I never would use a bird with a cyst. That's most of the time genetically. And as I told you, 2011 we were moving house, and I had a new bird room, and suddenly I moved the boxes, and everything was new and clean and perfect. But in all the nest boxes, I had suddenly French moltes. That was a new experience for me, and I was forced to breed the year after with those French moltes again. And that was a very interesting experience for me, because I put French molt to French molt, and I got, they made 3 rounds, 12 chicks, and all 12 chicks were feather perfect. So it's really a strange thing. I know it's a virus, and you must carry it carefully, but you can breed with them if you know what it is. And if they appears the French molt, you have to make a break and start again a few months later, that the immune system can recover.
Okay, so Daniel, let's stop about this part. Is the French molt, what is the bird all bald, or only the tail and wings?
Well, the virus that I know from my place, they arrive always at the end of breeding season. I'm sure it has they somehow connect with fresh air. In November, December, it's getting cold here in Switzerland. Snow can come, and that means for me, at the moment, all the windows are opened, and then I have to close the windows, and then the problem arrives. So for me, it's 100% sure that French molt has to do with less with humidity and less with temperature, but a lot with fresh air. And if that happens, that's a sign from nature that you must stop, because it's not getting better. When you get the first French moltes, you have to stop immediately and make a break. You can tell the people anything in my name, and I have no chance to say it's true or not. I am completely depending on you.
You can ask them later on.
Okay, good. Go on. There was a question about using long tails and long flights. To make it clear, yes, I'm using them, or I was using them. I don't like them, but I think they're useful. If you put long tail to long tail, you produce big puffy birds with long tails that are ugly. But I mean, most, or actually all my different varieties, the melanistic spangles, or the clear bodies, the lutinos, the recessive pieds, I started with them all with smaller birds, and nowadays they are as good as the normals. And that was mainly possible with using those heavy feathered birds. And for me, a long tail or a long flight is a thought. If they go to a show, I think they shouldn't win a show. You must go for the stylish bird. But for breeding, they can be very useful. It's like flagged birds. It's a fault. They shouldn't win a show, but you shouldn't put them out of the show. The same with long flights. If you have a big, heavy-feathered bird with a long tail, just pair him to a short-feathered bird, and you can produce wonderful chicks. But you must be carefully, because that gene can be strong and can go on and go on. And like every feature, like I told you, you need a certain amount of hens that or cocks that are flecked, because flecked is somehow connected with good spots. But you shouldn't get too many of them. And the same is with long flights and long tails.
So, and about that, do you use yellow feather hens?
Yes, I also use yellow feathered cocks. Again, if you want to breed with a long tail bird, they need to be paired to a very short feathered yellow bird.
Yeah.
Point. End of the story.
Yeah. Okay.
There was a question that I didn't understand. Daniel made a huge difference in the hobby by breeding some amazing birds. Why this stop and we didn't see something new, same as last 5 years? Can you explain this?
Yes. In the previous year, Daniel, we are watching or seeing that every year is something new, a new style, a new bird winning the shows. So like your previous show, like the Spangle or the Grey Green Cinnamon, or the previous show, which is 5 years ago. But on the last 2 or let's say 3 years, we are seeing the same bird is winning every show. So this is the thing. Why something didn't appear? Is it the luck? Is it your focus on this bird maybe?
Well, he was. Let's talk about the cinnamon grey green again. He was an outstanding bird, but I mean, I was winning many other shows in the same time with other birds. I didn't show it, but every time I showed him, he was winning. Yeah. But I could have shown him 10 times more, and I think he would have won every time. He's one of the birds you can take out of the flight, take the spots out, and he's in condition all the time. He always had a tail. He never dropped both tails at the same time. And that's also a good feature, that the bird stays in condition. Certain birds we call super birds, they're never finished. They're always somehow molting, and they can never win a show because anything is always molting. But I think I have many more birds that can win, but the judges chose him, and especially the second time. The first time he must have won, but the second time I was surprised that he won again, because he was not in what the tail. One of the tails was too short, and there were other birds from me that I preferred, but it's a judge that take the decision, and that's the way it is. But I have many birds that are, I would say, better. You will see some of them later.
Daniel, is it do you think is more challenging? Is keeping the birds in the same condition for many years as a show bird, or breeding something new?
I'm not sure whether I understand the question the right way. When I was young, I was told it's easy to get to the top, but it's difficult to stay at the top. I think it's exactly the other way around. I think it was hard to get to the top, but when you have good birds, I think at the moment I can put together whatever I want. You will see a few pairs afterwards that you think are not so good, but they produce wonderful youngsters because they have in the background so many good birds. And I think at the moment anything bad must happen that I will lose the quality, because they are. I don't think I'm too close. I bring in every year 10, 11, 12 birds just to get the blood fresh and not getting too close. They don't have to be super birds, but they must come from good family. And yeah, but as I told you, I think it's not difficult to stay at the top, because yeah, when you have lots of good birds to choose from, yeah, and you know how it works. Breeding budgies has lots to do with mathematics. I used to work as a mathematics teacher, and when I was young, I didn't understand. I had no fascination for the mathematics. And later, when I was teaching mathematics, I started to understand how wonderful things work and how wonderful it is when certain rules come back and you can prove it that it works like this. And like I was breeding crests for some years, and with crests I failed. It's a big challenge to breed crests, but I like to have a system by breeding, and with breeding crest there was no system. The quality went anywhere, and they had a feather here, and I think you need to breed about 40 birds to get one full circular crest, and yeah, I like to have a clear system, and generally breeding budgies has lots to do with combinatoric, with mathematics, and I think it's fascination to see that it works. When you make the selection of, let's say, big spots every year, you say, I breed only the birds, I continue with the birds with big spots. After 5 years, you will see you have in your stud a lot of good big birds with big spots. And so every feature you can fix by making the selection. The main feature I was after, let's say 20, 25 years ago, was the directional feathering. I kept every bird where I could see around this year the feathers are going down. And nowadays I got it fixed in my bloodline.
Here is the question. You can see it.
No.
Which is from co-poster, the Dutch judge, our friends.
He's one of the few guys that are taller than me in the budgie hobby. Say hi, hello, hi, Cor.
Yeah. So how do you change the type of the bird in the last season?
In the last season, well, you cannot change the type of your birds in one season, but you can say, let's take, let's say in the next 5 years, and I want to reach this and this. In 5 years, you breed a few hundred birds, and you can take. It's always the same. You have to take the selection. If you keep only the big puffy birds with long tails, you will end up with a shed full of big puffy birds with long tails that, yeah, are no good in my opinion. And if you only keep the very small stylish birds, then you have very small stylish bird. But it must have, you need both to get the balance, to get the right birds. And again, it's 2 steps. The first step is the way you put the couples together. I always try to find the balance between the different features, and never put twice the same thought. Never put flecked bird with flecked bird, otherwise you fix the thought. And the second important step is when you have the youngsters here, you see them, and then you have to take the selection. And by taking the selection, you can say in which direction you want to go with your stud.
Okay, there is also a question from Vitor from Spain, I think. He's also talked to me before. What's Daniel advice for beginner to breed with his bloodline? So what you recommend to the beginner when they want to start with your bloodline?
Well, when I was young, I met Heinrich Ott, my mentor. He's now 84 years old, or 85, I guess, even. He doesn't have bird anymore. But he invited me to his place and told me, look, Daniel, these are my best birds. And over there, these are their worst youngsters. That's what you can buy. And I thought, well, I don't want to buy the worst youngsters. But he said, that's what you have to buy. He said, that's an ugly little bird, but he's much better in genes than the good-looking one. And so I bought both, and I bred with both, and I realized it's true. A bad-looking bird is still genetically much stronger than a good-looking one with weakest genes. So it's all about the genes, and you must make this experience. In my younger years, I always went visiting different big names. I wanted to buy this and this bird, and they always said, no, you cannot buy, but that's a son, that's a daughter. You bought them, and at home you produced nothing that shit birds that look the same like the bird, like the parents. So it was rather clear that the good birds were not the parents of the little ones. But you must make this experience, and that a small bird, if he really comes from a good line, can reproduce top quality birds. But when you don't make this experience, you cannot believe. You must make it. And going back to the question from the guy from Spain, buy the cheaper ones, cheaper birds, and make your first experience with them, and then try to go step by step. It doesn't make sense to start with very expensive, high quality birds if you don't have the experience. You will make a lot of thoughts in the first years, but that's what we all did. We all have to go through, and like this, you can go to the next higher level.
So we have a question also from one of the guys, William. He's asking, Daniel, what's the feature you like most about the birds, and what's the most difficult defect to remove?
Okay, what I like on a bird is the beauty, charm. If you see a bird in the show cage, it must attract you. Faisal, you had some years ago a pied dark blue with a very funny color. You bought the bird from in Holland, you told me. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
I showed that bird to different people, and they all told me that's Photoshop. It's not possible. I said, I don't think that's Photoshop. And that they were small birds, but that was something unique, something new. I was fascinated by this. But that's the color that was fascinating. But generally, a bird has charm or he hasn't. And if he has no charm, it's not a good bird to me. So I like beauty and charm as the most important feature on a bird. That's what I want to see on a show winner. And what I want to avoid is to produce big ugly birds that can't fly, that don't lay eggs anymore, and all those monster birds that you see all the time in the Facebook, and everybody's writing super mashallah mashallah, but I think it's the wrong way. If in the internet you only see the face, you see this, you see the face, and you don't see the back. You don't see are there any feathers? Is he complete? Does he assist? Does he have a good position of the wings? How long is the tail? Does he have a tail? All those things you don't see. And if you bring a bird to a show, there's a judge, a qualified judge can see when something's wrong and can make the correction. In the internet, there's no correction. And some of the birds that are shown there, I saw in real, and they are just half of the size, or they have no wings and no flights and things like this. And then for me, a good bird, a super bird, is a complete bird that is able to fly. I think we have to go. There's a question you didn't ask yet. What I try to do in the future, and I try to breed my birds backwards. I try to make them smaller. And on Saturday there's a show. I will show a few smarter, shorter feathered birds. I'm not sure whether they will gonna win. I will also show some big buffy birds, but generally I think we have to go back. We cannot go further and further and further anymore, because in the last few years, I also was on that track to breed bigger and bigger, but nowadays I think we have to go back and not forget the budgie is a bird that can fly, and it's not a chicken. Most studs, or many studs that I'm visiting, they are 80-90% of the birds on the floor, and I think, whoa, that's no good. That's chicken is on the floor, but the budgie should be on the perch. And that's the way I think. So I think we should generally go backwards. I try to set the trend to produce a new stylish bird. I will show you afterwards a few birds like this. They're not big, but very, very beautiful. And I think that's the direction where we should go to.
Yes, yes. Actually, I have so many questions. So, guys, sorry, I can't share them all because there is no time for. I have many, many questions from the fans here, and today, Daniel, we hit a large number, which is 90 watching the live, and the number is going up and down, but it's a new number for the live. Normally, is less than that, and the questions are so many. So, Corsair also have a question that I know is always looking for out to cross. Daniel always out to cross, although he has traded good stud. What he's looking when he's looking for the autocross?
Well, I already explained that. Yeah. It's difficult to get a better bird than what I got at home, but I think you need to bring in, or at least that's my philosophy, to bring in a certain amount of fresh blood every year, and they must come from a good family, a strong background, and I try to get not Luetolf blood again. Well, it's not that easy. But there's no need to do that, but I think it's useful. I don't want to get too close related.
Yes, yes. Daniel, when you pair, do you focus on you focus on the male more than the females, right?
No. I think it's
so
a 50,
sometimes the male is average and the female is something special?
Yes, absolutely. But it's more easy to breed with a special cock in the average female than the other way around. But I will show you afterwards. The light turns off in 1 hour. If you want to have a look in the bird room, we should. There were a few questions where I think they were quite interesting to answer them. Wait, let me see. About the clear body and dilutes and other rare varieties, I keep them all. I breed anything I like. I don't like crests. I don't like anthracites. I don't like fallows. I never had, but I don't like the varieties. I like clear wings a lot. I'd like to breed rainbows, but not very successful. But generally, any of those difficult varieties, you always have to pair them into your best birds and to produce split birds, and then you can go on. That's the only way you can make advantage with the mutation. What's your best variety that you always shows? Cinnamons. That's what always wins. And if it's a normal bird or a spangled bird, you can be sure that if it's a cock, that he splits cinnamon and opaline. All my show winners are split cinnamon and opaline. I think you also need a good number of opalinism in your bird, in your blood, because opaline give. I don't know why opaline don't have such a good reputation. I think they're very useful, and you need to keep them. And if you breed opalines to opaline, you can produce a wonderful marked bird. And what I try to avoid by pairing is, I told that already before, never put thought to thought, flackies with flacky, long tails with long tails, no tail with no tails. Because when you double a thought, you multiply the good genes, but you also fix it, and you don't want to multiply the bad genes. So don't do it. It's quite easy. And the last question about what's French virus, French mold caused by diet or cleaning issue. Of course, when you don't clean, you have a bigger chance to get the virus. But as I told you, I'm 100% sure it's a virus. It's the circovirus or the polyoma virus, and there's nothing you can do against. Like you cannot do anything against the virus, like you know, in the last 2 years with the COVID as well. So you have to be careful. You have to clean, but the virus stays, and you have to make the immune system strong enough that the bird is able to fight. Then nothing happens.